Welcome to Wales Tech Week 2021. Thank you to our partners. Enjoy the session.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. The topic of our session is building your team. When we talk tech, often everything is very focused on just that, technical developments, innovation, and the latest things to market. But today we want to focus on talent and the team that you build in your business and outside of your business, because no successful unicorns are built solo. So to introduce Business Wales to you firstly, we are the Welsh Government's fully funded business and advisory service. We have a team of nationwide advisors who have built their own businesses and provide support to a huge range of sectors on a variety of different topics, from planning and scaling to financial forecasting, marketing, HR, sustainability, as well as trading internationally. For more information, you can visit the Business Wales website and register with our service for free anytime. Today, you'll hear from three of our advisors. Myself, I'm Miranda Bishop, and you'll also hear from my colleagues Kris and Andrew. We're also joined today by our two brilliant panelists, Shaoni Lynn of Lynn PR and Rayleigh Siemens from Amplify, who will be sharing their experiences on building and managing teams. When we were coming up with a theme for our Tech Week presentation this year, we put our heads together and tried to think of what barriers our clients who want to build tech businesses, and indeed other businesses too, faced most often. We've listed some of these out for you, and all of these barriers often then result in the inability to get your product out there. But all of these things can be fixed by connecting with others and building a team, be it internal or external. But first, you need a growth mindset. Not in terms of cash in the bank necessarily, but in terms of the team and the culture that you'll build. So, what if you are an idea person but you're lacking in technical skills? This is something that we see very often, and a lot of people try to find investment with just an idea, or possibly they've got to a patent stage, but they've got no implementation plan. And this likely won't be an attractive investment yet, as there'll be no way to prove that it works, even with the best business plan in the world. And sometimes investors will just want to be that. They won't want to have to get involved in build and implementation. And what if the opposite is true? If you've got tech skills, but you are someone who maybe struggles with sales, then pitches to investors might be more difficult. You might be tempted to accept the first investment you're offered, even if it's not an ideal fit. And you could miss opportunities by thinking in one direction when actually your build has potential in other areas or other industries. Lastly, gaining investment is one of the biggest barriers that tech startups think that they face. But investment isn't always the first thing that you should do. Investing in a team is less risky for angels, so building that first can often be of major benefit. And building an external team or some board members might also be able to connect you with more relevant investors in the future. A team is also much more likely to get a minimum viable product quicker. And grant funding for innovative businesses is often also very exclusive to companies that have over 10 staff. We won't be covering grant finance in a huge amount of detail today, but if you would like more information on it, then please do feel free to get in touch anytime. So it starts with you. The first thing to think about when you are building a team is, what skills do you actually bring to the table? And here are some key entrepreneurial skills that often people associate with building a large business like this. Now, a little tip here. If you have all of these skills, then you're probably one in a million. Most of us will need a co-founder, a partner, or some staff members who are able to provide those skills that we're missing. So for me, I know my sales ability is usually pretty good, but my technical know-how could usually use some improvement. And also when I do financial management for my own businesses, I usually switch off quite quickly and I want to focus on something more creative instead. Next, we're going to hear from Shaoni, who's one of my own clients. We first started working together in a Business Wales capacity when Shaoni was thinking about starting her own business. She now runs an award-winning PR agency, Lynn PR, which has a disruptive and data science-driven vision. She always had a team mindset, even when she was the only employee, and she started getting her first sales in by using a team of associates before she then went on to hire. She now has 9 members of staff in her team, and she built this from a strong network which she cultivates outside her business, such as through the CIPR and the PRCA. And for more information, you can find her at linpr.co.uk and all the relevant socials. First off, thank you so much for joining us today. And we wanted to kind of kick off with mindset of an entrepreneur and just talking about how your mindset shifted from when you went single person business, went right back when we started, to building that team and setting up all of your different networks. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I always set up Lynn PR as an agency, even when I was doing it part-time whilst it was in-house. The ambition was definitely to move it into a business with a team. Were I to leave my in-house role to pursue it independently. So always set it up as an agency, always had a roster of associates. That was the business model to start with. So it wasn't really a massive shift in terms of how we approach projects, but there was a lot more to consider in terms of team setup, I suppose, because you're going from being responsible just from yourself to being responsible for 9 people, and that can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot more process to consider as well, obviously from HR to recruitment, pensions, all of that, which a lot of people often get caught out on. For example, when recruiting someone into the team, it's not enough to think about the on-cost cost to the employer, but also think about pensions, think about sick pay, all of that. That does have a knock-on impact on cash flow. But also it's about establishing culture. And for us at Lynn PR, it's especially tricky because our company was set up to be virtual pre-pandemic, and we are virtual. My team is spread out across the UK. We've got people in London, in Liverpool, in New York, in Edinburgh, and in Cardiff. So really, it's a bit strange that we haven't met each other yet, but we continue to work together to deliver these exceptional outcomes for clients, whether that is getting more people to access the vaccine, or to reduce accidents on roads, or even if it's as simple as an internal communications piece and culture change within an organization. So we're doing all of this amazing work virtually, never met each other. We've got 9 to 5 workday, 9 to 5:30 workday. We have established process of communications between us, and we do have social events. We have very frequent face-to-face virtual calls. It's strange that we haven't met each other. So this evening I'll be meeting a few of my Cardiff team for the first time, right? Which is very exciting. And then we're also planning an away day shortly, when we'll bring everyone from across the UK to Cardiff and show them the glorious lights of Cardiff. And that'll be, I think, quite an interesting and unique experience for us. But I think just in the way we work, the outcomes we deliver, we have bonded, even though we haven't really met each other. And we have a very honest, transparent work ethic anyway. So I don't think that has much of an impact in terms of how we operate.
Sure. And is that something that you looked for in your first hires then? Was it more of a cultural or kind of mindset that you were looking for in those first hires?
I think from a technical perspective, Lynn PR, we are a data-driven strategic communications agency. So it's really important for me to hire those who shared a similar passion. And that meant an appreciation and understanding of measurable objectives and audience insights and data to inform strategic direction of campaigns and communications. Having said that, having that culture is really important. So I did look for people who shared an honest approach to communications, who really wanted to make a difference. Yes, it's a business, and yes, there's a commercial side to it. However, what we are doing every single day is deliver intrinsic human value, and that's what I think we take away when we're doing really long shifts or coping with multiple crises at the same time. What keeps us going is, at the end of the day, we are creating tangible change for our society, and that is very gratifying. So did definitely look at people who shared a similar vision for how they want their careers to develop, and had similar values. Honesty, integrity are extremely important to us at Lynn PR. If I could say the name of my company, that would be great, wouldn't it? Lynn PR.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. And just to kind of expand on that as well with your first hires, you didn't kind of go in with junior roles for your first hires, did you? You kind of went in a little bit heavier with people who could kind of hit the ground running quicker.
Yeah, so outside of my PA, who was technically my first hire, my first official hire into the operations team was a senior consultant. And the reason behind that, I mean, I must establish that at that point, I did not think within 6 months we would go from 1 to 9. So for me, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a hire for the next year or 18 months. So needed someone who could drive that strategic vehicle along with me and help with biz dev, help with sales, and not just in terms of delivery, because we do have this roster of associates that we can pull on to do some of that operational stuff. So we did go at a higher level as a senior leadership team member, and we've continued to have that role in post. So we have changed individuals within the role. In part, someone had to leave because they had already committed to another role before they secured the opportunity, and now we have someone in post who is permanent.
Yeah.
So that's great. But we have now got more of an operational team as well to support the leadership team.
Brilliant. And I think that's something that people sometimes fall down on with their first hires is they try and make use of stuff like the Kickstart scheme or Jobs Growth Wales, and they go in with someone who's junior and needs a lot of hand holding and can't necessarily go and drive the business forward at that level. They kind of get sucked in by this person is a cheaper hire, else, but it doesn't necessarily work longer term. I think that's a great third or fourth hire sometimes when you've got other people in to supervise and help that person's growth.
Absolutely. I mean, you get what you pay for at the end of the day. And if anything, I think our account exec roles, which is the most entry level role we have, was much later on in the process. So yeah, absolutely. I think bringing in people who have a senior level experience, whether that is a senior leadership team role or not, is really important in establishing process and establishing ways to deliver work. And then, of course, bringing in people to support them is really important.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. And you just mentioned as well that your first hire was your PA. How did you find that hire in terms of freeing you up?
Oh gosh, yeah, Nikki, in my brilliant PA, has been an incredible help. She manages my diary, it gives it consistency, it ensures that I'm not double booking myself or perhaps not giving myself time between meetings. That's going to become especially important as we ease out of lockdown, go back to face-to-face meetings. But she also manages my speaking events, of which I do many, which can take up time to coordinate between organizers, just get the logistics right, all of that. So she manages all of that, which is a huge weight off my shoulders. And then she also looks after sort of the Olympia operational HR, like annual leave entitlement, managing our HR system, organizing team events. So it's definitely a worthy investment. And it's brilliant because when you find someone good who understands the business, you can just tell them what to do and they will get it done. And it's so effortless. And, it's great to be told you're going here at this time and this is who you're meeting and this is your schedule. It's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a lot of luxury in the beginning, and I did feel that. I was like, oh, I'm so important. I now need to. The amount of time that admin can really take over your life, where you should be developing your business and making sales and doing outreach. So yeah, I mean, Nikki and I have been working for over a year, which is incredible. And, I trust her so much, and I recommend people investing in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been a PA before, so I understand how much that can take off someone's plate. And I think it also helps you avoid that burnout, which is something that's really important to bear in mind as an entrepreneur, is your own wellness and your own health and time and stress levels, because it's so easy to just take on so much.
Absolutely.
So that's really helpful. Thanks.
Absolutely agree.
So my next question was about your network of associates as well. So how does this work? For one thing, you have a big network of subcontractors. Do you find this helpful, obviously in your day-to-day, but also do you find it helpful for understanding what your next hire might be internally as well?
It does help identify where we need to add capacity within the team. But I think where we find it really helpful is that diversity of talent that we can dip in and out of without having to really invest internally.
Great, perfect. And that brings me really nicely actually onto another question, which is, obviously you're a PR firm, but you mentioned you use a lot of behavioral science, a lot of cutting edge, innovative research to inform your campaigns. How does your team help you to keep up to date with this research and with all of the different science?
Yeah, I think the good thing is that they all understand the value of behavioral science and communications, because that would have been a slog if they're like, why are you doing this crazy science when you can be creative? So they all understand and have an interest in behavioral science, definitely data-driven expertise. Behavioral science, now within our industry, we don't have a lot of literacy in behavioral science anyway within PR and communication. So right now, Lin PR, we've launched the industry's first dedicated pulse check for behavioral science literacy and adoption called the BS Monitor, and we're seeing that those gaps in some of what we knew, which was more anecdotal evidence, but we're seeing the data come through, which is creating a nice landscape picture of what the landscape looks like.
I think a lot of people who are thinking about making their first hires worried and concerned about, having that person to be responsible for, or what happens if they leave and things like that. What advice would you have in terms of approaching those conversations? And if someone leaves, how do you not take that personally, and how do you continue with that momentum?
Turnover is part of business, right? Ideally, I'd like everyone to start and stay with Lin PR forever. That's not realistic. So succession planning is really important, and being very aware of why people have left. So exit interviews are important as well. And sometimes it's a good departure, sometimes it's not a good departure. And I'm saying this from my experience back in-house, where I had individuals that we had to say, actually, this is not working. And sometimes that cannot work from an employee perspective or from an employer perspective. So I think it's very important to be honest about some of that and have those conversations head on. I wouldn't want anyone to be at Lin PR if they didn't want to, and I wouldn't expect anyone to be at Lin PR if they didn't want to. So I appreciate that we're a startup, and so financially we may not be offering as attractive salaries as some big agencies can, or any agencies really. We're not funded at all. We've got no investment, so this is all coming out of cash flow. So appreciate that. Equally, as my team said to me earlier this week, the beauty of working at Lin PR, and these are their words, not mine, is that you can really shape your role, and this is true of any startups.
So thanks very much to Shayuni for that great insight into running her business. Next, I wanted to just summarize that by listing out a few limiting beliefs that you might have had creep into your mindset. The first, I don't want to give away equity. This is a really big one. And what I would always say here is, what's more effective? You being the sole owner of a company that never actually gets to market, or you being a part owner of a company who can keep growing and start really getting out there. Next is, I don't want to take finance out myself for this idea. Sometimes this can show potential investors that you don't share that same credibility in the business or authenticity in your belief in your idea. The idea is my baby. It's very easy to get tied to your ideas, your build, and something that you've put a huge amount of time and energy into. But in the end, again, it's just like that first question of, I don't want to give away equity. Staff stealing your idea and starting their own company, this comes from culture straight away. And also having good contracts of employment in place, having good exit interviews in place, as Shayuni and I talked about just now. Staff eventually leaving, that should be something that you always think about. Staff won't ever stay with you forever. If they do, then lovely, but let's be honest, everyone needs to keep developing and continuing their own career path too. And then again, just going back to grants, grant funding is very hard to rely on, so it's always good to pair it with other investment sources. Some do's and don'ts then. Remember that you can't do it all. Remember that burnout is real. Make strategic hires, not cheap hires, and make sure you embed a clear company culture right from the start, ensuring that your team is going to reflect and understand your audience. Figure out your role in the business. Not all founders are best placed to be the CEO. Sometimes you might be the CTO, maybe you'll be the financial manager. It really depends on your own skill set, and having a really clear idea of what that is will be helpful right from the start. So next, Kris, my colleague, will be talking through how to build an internal team.
Thank you, Miranda. Some really good advice there. The aim of today is to highlight how important it is to have the correct team around you, because it really will be the most important thing you ever build. So many companies that hold off from taking on a team is because they feel they're not ready. But for every company that I've built in the past, we've had the team in place before the product or service, which might sound a bit crazy, but your team will help you build and define your business, and they'll get you to commercialization a lot quicker. They'll also be the ones helping devise that culture. This week, I've been lucky enough to spend some time with Rony Siemens, who's the Chief People Officer at Amplify, where I was able to quiz him about how he built the team there and the board, how they manage that talent, and also gain some really good advice for tech businesses who are looking to build their own team. Here are some of the things that Rony had to say. Right, Rony, thank you very much for joining us for Wales Tech Week. First question I'm going to ask, you're Chief People Officer at Amplify. What does that involve?
It does exactly what it says in the tin, thankfully, Kris. So yeah, I get the privileged position of working with all the talent at Amplify. I think when you get to a stage like ours in a scaling company, where you move away from having sort of generalist role and you start to need to specialize, people was a function where we wanted to put a lot more focus. We needed to start having a more mature function that looked after everything to do with people. So that's from sourcing the right talent, bringing them into the team, integration, and then once they're in the company, making sure that they've got the development opportunities, training, and progression pathways as well. So yeah, I get to work with the full life cycle of the team, which is fab.
No, brilliant. Because you've been there 3 years now, so you must have seen some drastic changes over that time.
Yes, yeah, and much of that is echoes what I just said about the changing roles. So you know, when you're a smaller company, when I say smaller, perhaps in the 20s and below, you have to wear multiple hats. You're constantly picking up and doing whatever needs to be done. And I'm not saying we've moved away from that. We're still fairly small, but yeah, you can start to have a bit more focus on particular areas. But yeah, it's certainly been a fast-paced growth, and we're still on a fast trajectory as well, which has been great. Very different to previous jobs.
Is that something you're going to carry on with as well in the future?
Yeah, 100%. So in our last survey, everyone's talking about this new hybrid model, whatever that means. So we're trying to unpick that to go, what does hybrid mean for Amplify? And again, we're listening to the team to ask them what they would like to get out of it. And one of the main things they want to protect is this thing I mentioned earlier about being a great leveler. They want somehow to make sure that if you're just in an office, then if you happen to be based elsewhere outside of that office, that you don't feel like a second-class citizen, that you still feel part of the team. So we're going to have to invest in tech so that if spontaneous meetings happen, you can easily click a button and just bring in somebody who's perhaps based in London or Taipei or Arizona, wherever they may be, that they can be part of that conversation. Yeah. So it's going to be a year of experiment, and that's what we've allowed ourselves until the end of the year. Test some assumptions and then see what hybrid means beyond that.
And hopefully that'll give you access to a wider pool of talent as well, because as you say, you can attract people from Arizona and integrate them into the company as well. So hopefully that stands you in good stead. So
yeah, absolutely. Funny enough, one of the things it has done for us, onboarding, I think we, like many people, a lot of the onboarding process happened organically because, well, they'd be in the office, so they're going to bump into them, so you didn't think of the minutiae. Whereas now when you're onboarding somebody and they're not going to be next to you for the whole day, you have to schedule in almost every minute they're with us. And so our onboarding process, I'd say, is hugely improved. And it, as you say, it doesn't matter where they're based.
Yeah, but it also sounds as if you're engaging with the guys there, the staff, to understand what they want and need, which hopefully makes your job a lot easier because they're going to be feeding back as well. So that's really
absolutely. Yeah, it needs to be a two-way process. We recently won, or were listed on the best companies, top 50 tech and top 100 small businesses to work for. And I think that's a real indication of how hard we're working to engage our team. I've never seen the tech sector at the moment is so frothy. You know, the movement, there's a lot of churn. You have to work hard to find the talent in the first place and work even harder to hold on to them. So that engagement piece is vital, really.
Yeah, that's why we've got you on this presentation, because you're living it and going through it, hence the awards as well. So that's really good. One thing I always say to companies, I always try to get them to think, whether it's pre-start or early stage, I get them to think bigger. So what I've always done myself, we've always, even if there's only 2 or 3 of us to start off with, sit down, have a board meeting every month or every quarter, whatever it might be. How are the board meetings operating at the moment, being remotely? Do you still carry out those board meetings remotely and do that?
Yes, and I suppose historically for Amplify, because not all of our board have been UK based, there's been an element of remote about it. So that's just continued in a similar vein. So yeah, the board meetings haven't skipped a beat. We value those for 2 things really. One is it's a marking time for us to present the performance of the company and how well we're doing, any changes of direction. There's an element of accountability there, but also we've got a very active board that offers advice, can help steer the ship, you know, very experienced business people around the table, hugely important for any stage business, I would say, but particularly for a company like us that's scaling.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. One of the things that I think a lot of people in Wales know about Amplify is that you've been through 2 seed rounds and you've been through Series A as well. I'd be keen to know, out of those investors, how many of them scrutinized your management and your board, and how important was the team to them when they were looking to invest into Amplify?
I would say it's probably the number one thing, particularly in early stage, the 2 earlier funding rounds and Series A. A lot of it is about proving the technology, of course, but you need to have the team to be able to deliver the business behind that. So if it's not at the top of their agenda, I would say it was very near the top. So the management team and the talent that we build around us was absolutely fundamental, I would say, in securing each of the funding rounds. You need that trust and faith, I think, from the investors that we can deliver on what we said we want to do with the ambitious plans that we've got.
As you can see, Roni mentions on quite a few occasions the importance of listening to his team and getting their feedback. Because what's the point in employing people who are better than you in certain areas and then not listening to them? That's how you get to commercialization a lot quicker. And the advice is true if you're pre-start, rapid expanding, struggling, looking to raise funds, whatever it might be. The one thing everyone will always look at is your team. And at Business Wales, building a team is one of the things, many things that we help companies with. So if you do want to have a confidential discussion, just drop myself, Andrew, or Miranda a line. The best way to use the next few slides is almost as a checklist of things you need to consider when building a team for your business. And use that to have discussion with friends, family, business advisor, business mentor, and then you can deep dive and go into it in greater detail, and then inform your decisions on what you're going to do as well. So let's look internally. I'm going to look at your business structure, organizational design, workforce planning, and talent management. Now, I know they're in 4 sections, but I break it down into 2 key areas. One, how am I going to structure my business to attract the best possible talent? That's the stuff on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side is what people do I need? How am I going to get them? and how am I going to keep them as well. Let's start with business structure. So things to look at will be your business model and your pricing model. And this is why many people get you to write business plans, because you might have the best widget in the world, but if you don't have the right business model, the right business structure, then it's practically worthless as well. Shareholding, what's this going to look like? Are you going to offer A-class shares, B-class shares, C-class shares? How many are you going to issue? What's your board and management team going to look like? What skill set and experience do you want on there? What sweat equity? Explore that with the people that you speak to. Have you got your legals in place before you have it, get anything set up? Now, this would include contracts of employment, but also shareholder agreement, articles of association. Sometimes we'll find further down the line, if you don't have a shareholder agreement or articles of association, cause so many problems. I also find having a company manual really helps, because you can put things in there such as salary packages, duvet days, really set the culture in that company manual, what you expect of people coming into your business. The organizational design is, once you've got the structure in mind, you then need to have the correct people in the correct roles carrying out the correct procedures to ensure you'll succeed. So one of the questions I asked the business yesterday was, how are you going to sell your product? And the answer was, we're going to license it to SMEs at £100 a month, but also have a white label product for large corporates they can buy outright for 25 grand. Now, you find that's fairly common within tech businesses. The one sentence on that sales strategy is going to define who you bring into your team, the skills and experience needed, and the organizational structure that you're going to take. So that's why it's so important to have your structure in place, because it's going to inform your hiring decisions. So with organizational design, you need to look at, what does the business look like now? What's it going to look like in the future? What's it going to look long term? Now, there's no specific time frame on that. It will depend on what your marketplace is doing at that moment in time, really, and how you define it. I might say now, future 2 to 3 years, long term might be 5 to 6. But as we know, within, if you're a tech business going into the NHS, it might be a lot longer lead-in time, or your long-term future might be 2-3 years. It really does depend. With organizational design, you also want to look at, what does your ideal team look like? Are you going to have a CTO? What skill sets they're going to have? Are you going to have an FD? So keep in mind what your ideal team would look like. And again, think big with that as well. Now, keep it in mind, you need to look at 3 key areas of this. Functions, what skills are needed in these functions, and in the interaction as well. How are these departments going to interact with each other? So what you'll see is Amplify have an excellent structure in place for people to succeed, and it really does work. So Roni is now focused on the second part of that. What talent do I need? How do I get it? And as you heard, how do you keep them engaged and motivated, especially during the pandemic? Roni's going to explain a little further about how they do that over at Amplify. I always find that's the most exciting part of the journey, because you see people there who might be, 004 on the payroll, and they're taking their team and building it up and moving their way through, chance to possibly be director as well within tech startups as well. I always find that's the most exciting part, is that growth where you see people really develop as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess like all companies, when you're going at speed, there's a fine balance where you want to grow your own, allow people progression opportunities, and we've done that. So a prime example would be Dr. Liam Bettworth. He's now our CTO. Came in as a software developer, senior software developer, has moved himself up the ranks, proven his worth at every stage. And I think that's quite a good indicator for the rest of the team, actually, that if you put in great work, apply yourself and have impact within the company, then the progression opportunities will be there. So he's a good example of that, and something that we want to replicate.
And is that a development plan you've put in place for him as well to get to that level?
Yes, and it's ongoing. I mean, all of us
yeah.
at leadership team level have got a development plan. So I've got one, Liam has one, and some of that could be fairly informal, where you talk to mentors, people who've been there, done it before. There's nothing better than that. And there's other more structured, more formal training that we put in place as well.
Yeah, that's so good to hear, because even large companies don't have development plans for their board or management team as well, which is crazy to think, but it's so important. And again, that's you might be worried about people poaching your staff, but they're going to stay for that alone to see that progression and really develop as well. So that's really good.
Yeah, I think it's so important certainly for companies like ours. Finding the talent is hard, like I said, and we set a high bar in Amplify. We've got hugely ambitious plans, so everyone needs to be fully committed to their role and to the tasks, which they are. In return for that, we want to treat people brilliantly. We want to invest time in them, make sure that they're enjoying what they do, so they can really be the best that they can and progress. So yeah, that needs to happen on an ongoing basis. It's not a one and done. This is continual.
Yeah. I've got two questions I'd like to get your opinion on, because again, you're living it and you've lived through this. What would you say are the biggest staffing challenges? One, to a tech startup or pre-startup company, tech company, and then what would you say the biggest staffing challenges to a growing tech business, which is where you are at the moment?
So I would say starting off, balancing the headcount, I would guess, in what have you got currently in terms of your pipeline and the business that's coming in, and then anticipating what business are you likely to land, and do you recruit after the business has landed versus recruit ahead of it? And that is a fine balance. Recruitment takes time, finding talent takes time. So if you wait for the business to land, then you're scrambling and you're having to get talent in very, very quickly. We've done that. We've also recruited ahead, where we anticipate the business coming in and take our time a bit more. I think that's a nicer way to do it. If you can plan ahead, have real structure about the way you do it, you can cast your net a little bit further. But we've been successful actually in both ways. We've managed to get people in very, very quickly, and they've stayed with us. And likewise, we've done the planning side of it. So that was early stage. I mean that's probably applicable as we scale as well. But one of the bigger things for us now, scaling company, is, like I say, the global playing field that we're all on at the moment in the tech world is holding on to the talent. There's no doubt. The more of a spotlight you get on yourselves as a company, which we're fortunate to have, there's no doubt that there's other tech companies out there now that see us doing well, and they're after our talent. So we just have to continually work hard to hold on to the gang that we've got.
Yeah, and those two things you mentioned, engagement and development, are probably the two most important things to keep those staff within Amplify as well, I'd imagine. Yes,
I mean, there's a lot of ingredients that go into it, I would say. And you're absolutely right. Those two things at the top of the table. There's other parts of that. So generally, your company culture is important as well. Is it a welcoming place? Do people feel that they can? Is there the trust and transparency there? Is there a culture of excellence where people are driving each other's performance? That's absolutely something that we're working on at the moment, and we feel that we've got a really good culture actually. Yeah. And the other thing is, people just want to enjoy what they do. They want to be working on exciting things. When you've got incredible talent that have got these brilliant brains, they want to be able to apply them. So the fact that we're continually bringing great, exciting projects to the table means that they're always enjoying what they're doing, and that's hugely important as well.
Yeah. I've got one final question for you, because we could talk all day.
It's good.
But I think what's really good is that obviously this is going out during Wales Tech Week, and it's going to help those tech businesses understand where you're coming from as a business and what you're looking to do, those things that are key. But if you could give one piece of advice to a tech business around their people agenda, what would it be?
One bit of advice on people. Okay. So we're looking for the magic bullet. Thanks, Kris.
Yeah.
I would say listen to your team. I mean, if you're head of a people function, you know, providing the frameworks and everything is important, but listening to the team is vital. You know, it's crazy if you bring in amazing talent, brilliant minds, and then don't exploit that. You know, they've got a lot of ideas. They want to contribute to the company, not just the tech side, but evolving the company as well.
Yeah.
So I would say listen to them. Yeah, get their input, get them feel part of the growth, and it'll pay dividends, I promise you.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. There's one thing I learned as well, is that that everyone's got egos within the business, but I was always told, bring in people who are better than you. And I always, to start off with, starting a business, I felt threatened by that. I don't want to bring in people who are better than me. But you quickly learn the hard way, bring in those people who are better than you because they're doing different jobs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never come to a place actually where my CV looks so bad. But
you're doing a brilliant job. You're doing really well over there. So you should be proud. You should be really proud.
Yeah, thanks. It's a great place. It's a great place to work. And, you know, there's more to come. You know, this is, again, it feels like every year is just a beginning, you know, and we're, which makes it exciting.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much for that today. And that's some, you know, invaluable advice. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thanks very much, Kris. Enjoyed it.
Cheers. Bye. We're going to move on to workforce planning. All this means is that you're going to create a seamless team and the business has the right people in the business at the right time. And there's so many ways we do this with companies. We look at skills matrices. So board skills matrix, skills gap analysis. We would also look at competitor analysis as well. So what sort of roles are your competitors hiring? When did they hire them? How many have they got? Things like that, which will also help when you're looking to map out the industry, the sector, and what you're looking to achieve. And also carry out that research, help you carry out that research and analysis as well. So contracts you're going to win, when you'll need those people in place. Once you've done your workforce planning, you're then moving on to managing that talent. You've got the structure, you've got your plan in place. The talent is the culture you're looking to embed in your business as well, and how you're going to get those best developers in your sector. So you've done your research. These are the stages you're going to go through. For me, the next stage would be to headhunt. Now, it really is up to you. You might run an advert. Me, I tend to prefer to make a direct approach. There's a few tips we can give you on headhunting as well. From my point of view, I always say, always have a story to be able to tell people about the business and what you're looking to do. Always have information on the person you're approaching and why you're approaching them. So I understand you built XYZ. We're looking to do something similar. And go from there. And always make it informal. So I wanted to get your opinion on this product or service I got. Could we have a coffee to discuss it? So keep it very informal. You'll then go to the interview and assessment stage. We've sat in on a number of different interviews with clients, almost acting as a non-exec director, to help them with their selection, interview questions, and also give them an external opinion as well. We're more than happy to do that. And then the final stage is to manage that talent. So talent will be your differentiator in the marketplace. People will know if you have the best CTO, the best developer, or the best sales director. That's a very brief overview of how you build your internal team. We'll have much more time outside of this presentation to discuss that in more detail if you do want to discuss that with us. I'd also like to say a big thank you to Roni at Amplify for letting us spend some time with him and tapping his brains, because he's living this at the moment and they're doing a brilliant job over there at Amplify. My colleague Andrew is going to look at the wider business support ecosystem in Wales, which has been set up to enable tech businesses, any age, any size, to access specialist talent pools and specialist resources that's going to be available to you as well. So Andrew's going to take you through that now.
So no matter where you are in your business journey, an external team can create real value for you. Getting really experienced individuals to join your business, especially at the outset, can be very difficult. But I'm always amazed at how willing some are to help in a mentoring capacity, and this can form the foundations of your external team. An external team can take many forms, but generally it'll be in the form of government-funded programs, academia, or mentors. This external team can help turn your good idea into a viable business proposition before you have to commit to investing lots of money into it. So Kris has gone through how to build an internal team and how to go about doing that. But when your business is essentially only an idea and you have little or no money, it can be hard to build an internal team. I would certainly encourage you to try and build a core team of founders with different skill sets rather than trying to do this as a solopreneur, but it can take a lot of persuasion on your part to get others to buy into your idea. We've developed a full workshop on getting your business investment ready that details why it's important to have a strong founding team, so you should definitely check that out on the Business Wales Events Finder. As this is Wales Tech Week, we'll assume you are starting a tech business, but this can easily apply to other sectors as well. In my experience, the majority of people wanting to start a tech business are very experienced in their sector and have spotted a gap in the market, but they do need support with the tech side of things. So what support can you leverage to get you from idea stage to proof of concept or MVP stage? Luckily, there are several avenues you can get support from here in Wales. Business Wales is generally your first port to call. As advisors, we work through your idea and look to see what support we can bring in to get your business moving. A good example here is recently I had an individual come to me with an idea for developing a platform, and their first sentence was, "Where can I get £253,000 to get my app development?" Now, this is something that I hear quite often, and after backing him up from the starting point, I got him to explain his idea. I was able to start working with him and began building an external team. In this case, we were able to take advantage of both government support through Business Wales and academia. Once he was put in touch with the academic connection, they were able to support with the development of a proof of concept. The founder was then able to use this support to begin building his internal team, and now has been able to recruit a CTO on the back of the proof of concept. He's now in a much better position to go out and look to raise some seed funding to move from where he is now beyond MVP. Business Wales also has a large mentoring database with individuals from all sectors and with a vast amount of experience that we use to great effect. As advisors, we look to place good mentors with business founders and have found that the right mentor can add so much value to the business at the outset. They can impart great advice, and we have found that many even open up their personal networks to businesses, and that has made it much easier to test their ideas and secure customers very early on, something that will help when looking to raise investment too. In this example, we have put together an informal mentoring group that consists of both academia and mentors. The academic support was in place for the technical side of things, and the mentoring helped with the business planning side of things, and both worked alongside us at Business Wales. I purposely call this a mentoring group, as the phrase mentor suggests that there is no cost to the support that is given. Either it's funded, as in the university's case, and gifted, as in the mentor's case. Now, there is nothing stopping the relationship becoming more formal, and this group may very well evolve into your board. But at this stage, keeping it as an informal mentoring group will help keep your costs down. You don't need to be at the outset of your business to realize the value of building an external team. All the support that is available for startups is available for existing businesses. We regularly get businesses, especially over the last 18 months, that are looking to diversify or innovate. We usually work through the idea and look to see what support can be brought in to move the idea forward. I recently spoke with a successful training company that were using an off-the-shelf learning management system to deliver their service. They were looking at developing a new one, as the current one didn't really meet all their needs, and they were having to do some workarounds to make it work. They were looking at the possibility of developing their own LMS, and then the possibility to sell it as a white label. I spent quite a bit of time suggesting why this might not be the best idea, as the LMS world is very saturated, and the business would need to shift some focus to being a tech company, which would impact the continued success of the training aspect. We did, however, begin to discuss how they could potentially use technology to develop a more immersive training experience. The founders really liked the idea, and I was able to begin building the external team to look at how they could go about testing the viability of the idea. In this case, having the external team was useful for the business, as it allowed them to talk the idea through with an independent group before committing resource to something that may not have been best place for them. So as we're getting to the end of the session, let's have a look at some of the various support that is out there. This list is by no means exhaustive, but it is a good example of how you can easily build an external team no matter where you are in your business journey. So first up, Business Wales. We've already outlined the support that Business Wales offers, so please get in touch if you would like to get started with building your external team. As I mentioned earlier, Business Wales has an extensive mentoring database, and we will work with you to find the right mentor for your business. But we're not the only place you can find a mentor from. Have a look through your own network and your network's network as well. Like I said earlier, I'm always amazed at how willing people are to take on a mentoring role when they are asked. CMET are an emerging tech research centre based at the University of South Wales. They are able to act as an external CTO for your business. If you're looking at integrating new technology into your business process, or you have an idea for developing a platform, they should be high on your list of people to call. CMET have a strong team of developers in place that can not only look at what you are trying to develop, but also have a strong focus on the commercialization of what you might be trying to accomplish. Agora IP is another academic project based in Swansea University. They look to help entrepreneurs and businesses with innovation and exploiting IP. They are in a position to support you anywhere from your idea stage to marketplace. This can be a great way of leveraging all the resources of a university as part of your external team. If you are looking to do something that has a medical or well-being focus, connecting with the Life Sciences Hub can add significant value for you. They can help you translate ideas into solutions, enabling them to be adopted in health and care. They also run Accelerate program that can link you up with various universities. Smart Cymru supports Welsh businesses to develop, implement, and commercialize new products, processes, and services. They can assist your business at every stage of your innovation journey with a phased approach to supporting research and development activity. They can look at feasibility, industrial research, experimental development, and exploitation. This support is given to businesses with very high growth potential and is supported by an innovation specialist allocated to your area. There are also various accelerators and incubators around Wales and the wider UK that can be used to great effect that will help you develop and validate your idea while also helping you with more general aspects of developing your business as well. So as I said, this list is by no means exhaustive, and there are many ways of developing an external team. Please don't hesitate to get in contact with us, and we'll be more than happy to support you with everything we have gone through today. I hope you found this session useful, and please feel free to ask any questions. Diolch yn fawr.
Well, good morning, everybody. Hopefully you found that useful. We haven't had any questions put in the chat, so we must have explained it really well. So, but if anybody wants to make contact with us, the webinar address is there as well. We'll put that in the comments section as well, so you can see it. But the support of Business Wales is fully funded, so we're more than happy to help any tech business or any business across any sector really who are looking for that business support. So, but thank you very much for joining us. I don't think there's any other questions coming through. So,
I think one of the main things to take from the session today is how important building a team is, especially if you're at the outset of your business. A lot of people come to us, as in some of my examples, where people were like, I need this amount of money to get a prototype built or an MVP built, and it's an awful lot of money to come up with up front. But if you can build a team, internal and external, and some of those consist of software developers, people with experience in customer service and marketing, you can actually get your business really, really far down the track before you even need to think about raising money. You're talking about just using sweat equity or sweat time to get your platform built. And I don't know about you guys, but I definitely spend an awful lot of time speaking to someone like that. And we've just had a post from Az, who's someone that I'm helping at the moment as well. And we've had this very, very similar conversation about what kind of resources are out there in Wales to help people get their business ideas off the ground. And if you can get to a point where you get proof of concept, you're in a really, really good position. You got some data coming back, you got a bit of feedback, you got a bit of traction, It makes it so much easier when you go and speak to people like Development Bank of Wales, Angel Invest Wales, angels themselves, or high net worth individuals with looking to raise money. The other thing I would suggest as well is to look up things like SEIS and EIS. I'm always still quite amazed at how many people have actually never heard about it. And how that can be a great incentive to people with with high net worth to be looking for somewhere to invest, and especially around December, January time, and there's lots of inquiries about whether businesses are SEIS and EIS registered. So I just think that having the team at the outset is really, really important. And Roni mentioned that they weren't massively bothered about the product. As long as the product worked, that's brilliant. But you don't invest in the product really; you invest in the team. And solopreneurs, while it's very, very difficult, the big feedback I've had from angel investors is it's difficult for them to invest in a solopreneur, because if that solopreneur gets sick, gets bored, something happens, their investment is there and it goes. I've even heard examples of the angel investors becoming founders of the business at one point in time. So having that core founding team is very important, and having that core founding team with different skill sets. Someone with the technical ability, someone with the business acumen, and someone with that sales and marketing, comms and PR side of stuff, I think is very, very valuable.
I totally agree. And I think the other thing to think about when we're looking at, building an MVP before you get out to investment, it gives you the chance and the flexibility to make some mistakes first and get those mistakes out of the way. And like you said, prove the concept before then you go out to investors. Because if you get investment early, sometimes that feels like everything, and I completely understand that. But if you get that investment early and then you have very, very costly mistakes, then you have unhappy investors, and then your second round is even harder and everything else gets much more tough. So if you can just get that, like you say, that founding team right and early and failing fast and easy, it's much more straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely, to the point. And one of the businesses I supported, and I've been supporting for the last 2 or 3 years, we went down that journey, and it took a while to get them to build that team. They wanted to go for money straight away. I suggested we don't. They built something, and it was a disaster. But they learned so much from that disaster that their product is iterated 3, 4, 5 times. And now they've actually people approaching them for investment rather than them going out to look for it, which is the idea.
And that's normal in this industry. It's incredibly rare that you build something and it's right the first time, isn't it? Let's be totally honest. Or it fits the market that you initially thought would be interested in it. You have to be flexible in that startup phase or in that build phase so that you can start to see scalability in other areas too. I
think the biggest issue for any business really is it's the cost outlay for staff, and you very often, certainly in my industry that I've been involved in, you won't see a return on that investment for a minimum of 6 months to 12 months, but you've got to plan that in. Yeah. But the point we're trying to make in this is that you can't afford not to do this, to take people on, but also there is support out there you can access, which Andrew went through in terms of the ecosystem. And our job at Business Wales, is to introduce you to all those people that can help and support you to, act as an external team or to bring people in so it's not vastly expensive for you. So that's the point I want to make to everyone out there. There is so much support out there you can access.
That's it. So we're coming to the end of the session now. I'd just like to thank Roni and Shioni for coming and spending a bit of time with us to give some insights. And as Kris said, they're living this at the moment. So, it's great to get advice from them and to see how positive these things are coming out after such a disastrous kind of 18 months with the pandemic and stuff. So I put an email address in there, webinar@businesswales.org.uk. So if anybody's not registered with Business Wales, please use that email and someone will be in touch. We'll get you registered and we'll pair you up with one of the advisors at Business Wales. If you are with Business Wales and you probably haven't touched base with your advisor for a while, please reach out. But if you've lost our contact details, again, use the webinar email address, and the Business Wales website is there as well. And please get in touch if there's anything we can do. We'd be more than happy to go through anything with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. And thank you to everyone at Wales Tech Week for organising as well. Much appreciated, and thanks for having us here again this year.
Thank you for watching. Rewatch all of our sessions online. Thank you to our partners.